one of the things that we all share in common that bridges us is that we're all parents, and we all have children that are in the school system, and this is something that we have to think about nowadays. What were your thoughts listening to your children talk about this very sad and tragic topic?
I mean, my first response is pride. Having a child in high school, I feel that she's taken her fear and her worrying and she's turned it into action, which I'm so proud of her. However, I'm very saddened as well. I didn't experience this growing up. I never was afraid to go to school. There were not school shootings when I was in school. And so the fact that my children, as well as everybody else's children, have to experience this is quite sad.
I think it's a little bit fearful that they know so much about what's taken place and know all the details, and that lockdown drills are just part of their monthly drill at school. When we were kids, it was tornadoes and fire drills, and those were scary enough. And now they do these lockdown drills, and for them, it's just part of their routine. So
does that scare you a little bit that that's normalized, like a lockdown drill? Because you're right, because we only had fire drills, tornado drills, and you're right, that was scary when you even thought about it. And for them, this is just so normalized.
It is, but at the same time, they seem to be prepared. So it is their new normal. That this is what they have to be prepared for, and their teachers talk to them about it, and they talk to their friends about it. So. It's a little fearful, but it's good that they're prepared, and it's just hard, I think, for my generation, at least for me, to accept that this is their new normal.
How do you introduce the topic of gun violence to your children?
For my children, they're teenagers, and so they hear about it sometimes before I do. If there's a situation or an occurrence, they know, whether it's through social media or just through their friends talking about it. The conversations are a little bit different with my middle schooler versus my high schooler.
How are they different?
A little less detailed with my middle schooler. I wait for him to ask more questions and I answer them as I see fit, where with my older child, I am more willing to talk detail with her because she's ready now. Even maybe a year ago she wouldn't have been, but now that she wants to know more, I'm more willing to be open with her about whether it's the mental health side of things, whether it's, what went wrong, what didn't happen as far as the protection and what needs to happen. There's a lot more open dialogue in our home about all of that.
Luke is so young. He's 8 years old. He's a bright kid, very sharp. Has he ever brought up the topic to you about anything that he's seen on the news or maybe kids have talked about at school?
He does. I mean, he's very into current events, and I think there's just a curiosity about what's happening out there, especially when it has to do with other kids and how it's affecting other kids. And I just let him ask questions and kind of see where the conversation goes. I try to answer them as honestly as I can, considering he's 8 years old. I don't want to scare him further, but they also he has access to information, that when we were 8 years old we didn't have access to, even just something that might be on the news in the room, or he'll see the front of a newspaper and it's out there. So even trying to protect him from things online is one thing, but it's out there in the world. So I just try to have those open dialogues with him and answer the questions as best I can, so he's at least getting the information from me because I know he's getting it other places as well.
Do you think your kids are a little bit more stressed, or do you sense stress in terms of going to school? Maybe even not just your children, but do you feel like children in general are more stressed going to school?
I don't know that mine are more stressed going to school. I think it's just part of what they talk about and what they deal with now, which is sad, but it's where we're at. I don't really see that they're more stressed about it. It's just part of what they're used to, good and bad.
I completely agree. My son, his middle school went on a lockdown about 6 months ago that was quite frightening. They did think there was an active shooter on campus, and the parents were quite terrified. Many of us outside the school watching everything going on. The county handled it beautifully, the school handled it beautifully, but the kids were on a lockdown for about 90 minutes. And afterwards, I fully expected to have to, answer a million questions, basically pick my crumbling child up off the ground due to fear and worry. And he walked home as if nothing had happened. It was a normal day. And that was quite surprising to me. I'm glad he's not feeling the anxiety and the fear. It's not what I want for my children. But it took me by surprise that it was just sort of the norm.
And I think I agree with you. I think our school has done a very good job of keeping the kids informed. And Luke was specifically concerned after the shooting down in Miami. And he went and talked to the principal. The principal brought him in, and they talked about, how they're keeping the school safe and the different things that they were going to be adding in and what they do and how things operate. And so I think that, being able to talk to the kids and not just, not answer their questions is the way to go.